I believe Viktor Reznov is 100% still alive, and by the end of this video, I will have convinced you not only is he still alive, but there's a great chance he will be at least mentioned and maybe even seen in Black Ops 6. Now, in order to do this, we need to diving into evidence hidden within Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, and even Black Ops 3. So there is a lot of history to cover in this video, but let's just start straight away with the here and now. Why is Black Ops 6 looking like the most likely game where we will see Reznov's return? Well, if you were extremely keen-eyed during the Black Ops 6 Direct, you'll have realized that one of the campaign missions is described as being set in a snowy tundra in northern Russia. But what they got to mention, which is a massive deal, is that we are going back to the Vorkuta prison in Black Ops 6's campaign. When I first noticed and realized this, my mind was absolutely blown, because this is territory that has remained untouched since the beginning of the Black Ops franchise. If you aren't aware, Vorkuta is the infamous prison that both Alex Mason and Viktor Reznov broke out and escaped from in the 1960s. Vorkuta prison lays down the fundamental origins of the Black Ops franchise, as we learned that here Mason was experimented on by Dragovich's scientist Frederick Steiner, brainwashing him with the Numbers program in an attempt to program Mason to assassinate the US president at the time, JFK. This is the entire premise of the original Black Ops, but we learn later on that Mason actually had a resistance to that brainwashing because in his time in Vorkuta, befriended a Russian prisoner named Viktor Reznov. Due to their friendship, was able to exploit Mason's resistance to Steiner and Dragovich's attempts to brainwash him by overriding the brainwashing and changing the agenda instead of assassinating JFK to go out and kill Dragovich, Steiner, and Kravchenko. Reznov brainwashed Mason into thinking this ideology because 20 years prior, Viktor Reznov, along with his close comrade Dmitry Petrenko, were deployed to the Arctic Circle to capture a scientist named Frederick Steiner. These orders came from Kravchenko and Dragovich after they learned of the Nova 6 project and finally discovering its whereabouts. The mission was a success because Steiner was successfully captured. However, Reznov was set up by Dragovich, as Dragovich demanded that Reznov's squad were used as test subjects for the Nova 6 gas in order to witness its power firsthand. This led to the unfortunate death of Reznov's best friend Dmitry Petrenko, and ever since that moment has set out to set revenge on Dragovich, Steiner, and Kravchenko. Now, throughout Black Ops 1, we are led to believe that Reznov is just a figment of Mason's imagination and that Reznov never actually existed, with Hudson stating that Reznov died at least 5 years before Mason broke out of Vorkuta. But we learn in Black Ops 2 that Hudson had been compromised for some time, acting as a mole within the CIA, setting Frank Woods up to kill Alex Mason whilst leading him to believe that that was actually Menendez. Kravchenko even hints years before this that Menendez has moles within the CIA. So everything Jason Hudson's told us must be taken with a big grain of salt, because the whole focus on Black Ops 6 is that you're forced to go rogue, even the CIA can't be trusted, and the truth lies, as there are multiple moles within the CIA at this point. Now, why would we be going back to Vorkuta in Black Ops 6? Well, we've just explored what happened at Vorkuta in the 60s with the original brainwashing of Alex Mason. But we also know that this technique was used in the 80s, as in the Black Ops Cold War campaign, we learned the CIA used the same brainwashing techniques of MKUltra to make Bell have visions and memories that they never had, which was implanted from Russell Adler's memories. The way we see Vorkuta in Black Ops 6 looks like it has been abandoned for quite a long time, as there is snow gathered both outside the building and within the prison grounds itself. But there has to be some top secret documents or evidence on the MKUltra program that someone within the Black Ops 6 campaign is going to need for a motive we don't quite understand yet. But how does this all tie into the existence of Viktor Reznov? Well, the last time we saw Viktor Reznov was during that breakout of Vorkuta with Alex Mason, where at the end where Mason escapes, so when he turns to face Reznov, we can see that there is no one driving the truck next to him. And if Reznov died during the breakout of Vorkuta, then where is his body? At no point do we ever see his body. And one of the most classic tropes that modern Call of Duty games is using these days is that if you didn't see a body, then did that character really die? But I'm absolutely going to prove to you that Viktor Reznov is still alive by this insane Treyarch Easter egg that they implanted within every single mission. If you decode the phonetic alphabet code names that flash in the beginning of every level of the Black Ops 1 campaign into their first letters, change the serial numbers into letters, and remove all the X's, you get the following message: Reznov is dead. Or is he dead? There was no body Is he who he says he is? Now, this is an Easter egg I bet 98% of you never knew about in the Black Ops 1 campaign, which is absolutely incredible that throughout the campaign, Treyarch knew that they were going to be teasing to the player about Reznov's existence. But the rabbit hole dives even deeper because Treyarch embedded a secret identity for Victor Reznov within the Black Ops 1 terminal that absolutely none of you would know about. If we go and look at Jason Hudson's email inbox, there is an email from a stranger called John Trent with the subject, "Everything you know is wrong. You don't know me, but I know Alex Mason. You will learn to trust me. Everything changes on Friday." But it gets even crazier with the next email to Jason Hudson from John Trent with the subject, "Now you understand," with, "It was by the hand of Nikita Dragovich. This is just the beginning. They are everywhere. Start of Vorkuta, 2 escaped the breakout. You know one of them. The other one just died." Now, this makes it sound like John Trent puts the blame on Dragovich, suggesting that the sleeper agents are everywhere. Mason is only one small part of the overall puzzle. And the second paragraph being absolutely wild, saying 2 escaped the breakout. You know one of them. And we, the player, experienced 2 escaping the breakout, Mason and Reznov. Them saying you know one of them is obviously a reference to Alex Mason, but the last sentence saying the other one just died, this makes it sound like Reznov did recently just die or was thought to have died. But a more philosophical explanation is that this was written by Victor Reznov under this new identity of John Trent, making out that Victor Reznov just died, but this other identity has only just been born. Now, the nail in the message coffin that completely solidifies that John Trent is Victor Reznov is this message to none other than JFK. Subject, you have 1 day left. Victory cannot be achieved without sacrifice, which is the exact same quote that Reznov says to Mason as they are about to break out of Vorkuta prison. Final email that John Trent sends to Jason Hudson is in 1968, subject titled, "You have done well. Please tell Mason one last thing. This time it's freedom for both of us." And this is a line that only Mason and Reznov would understand. This line single-handedly alone proves to me that Victor Reznov is still alive under a new identity of John Trent, because this email was sent on the same day as the ending to the Black Ops 1 campaign. And the subject heading of the email suggests that Hudson was asked by Reznov to help Mason kill Dragovich. And if that wasn't enough, there is an image in the terminal which is called wolf.pic, which is a picture of this gentleman right here. Now, you cannot tell me that this isn't Victor Reznov. This is 100% the same character. It has the same hair, the same facial hair. The only thing he's missing is that iconic bandana, but I can't think of a nickname for someone who has been missing for such a long time. Someone who's working completely alone wouldn't be called anything else but the Wolf. And this, my friends, is why I think John Trent is the new identity for Victor Reznov. This is without question one of Treyarch's greatest secrets throughout the entire of the Black Ops franchise, where even to this day, we still don't know for sure if Victor Reznov even died. And in classic Call of Duty style, if we never see the body, then we cannot 100% confirm that they died. It's also extremely fishy that in the Black Ops 1 campaign, Weaver never knew Reznov was dead until Hudson told him after the fact. And again, with what we learn in Black Ops 2, we learn that Hudson is not to be fully trusted. Last mention we have of Victor Reznov is the emails in 1968, but in Black Ops 2 in 1986, we see Victor Reznov again as Alex Mason is sent to Afghanistan along with Frank Woods to obtain intel on the Mujahideen. During this, Mason discovers Kravchenko is still alive and leading the Soviet attack from within a massive tank. During the encounter with Kravchenko, the numbers are triggered inside of Mason's head and his voices of Reznov telling him that Kravchenko must die. The final moments of the mission, both Mason and Woods are betrayed by the Mujahideen, beaten and abandoned in the desert, seemingly left to die. And in Mason's time of need, Reznov appears dressed in desert gear, riding a horse, and offers Mason a drink of water, essentially saving Mason's life. But pay very close attention to this scene, because as you will notice, the number sequence does not initiate in Mason's head, as he usually would when meeting what some would deem a fake version of Reznov. Furthermore, Old Man Woods tells David that Mason was hallucinating, but Woods also wasn't wasn't sure because he never saw the guy who saved him. And if this really was Reznov, then he would be 70 years old at this point. And what's even more interesting is that in the zombie storyline for Black Ops 3, there is a direct reference to Viktor Reznov in Gorod Krovi. In the spawn room next to the challenges is a board written "Vengeance will be mine, VR," which proves that Viktor Reznov already existed in the zombie storyline and is still alive at this point in time. And it's incredibly ironic that this map takes place in the heart of Stalingrad and Reznov was there during the Battle of Stalingrad in World War II. Now, this can be played off as a minor thing because each of the Black Ops 3 Zombies maps did take place in their own parallel fracture of the timeline, but it still proves that in one existence or another, Reznov himself does exist. Now, how likely is it that we will actually see Viktor Reznov in Black Ops 6? Well, I think there is a chance, albeit a small chance, because technically at this point in the timeline in the 90s, this would put Reznov at nearly 80 years of age. I think at the very least, with us re-exploring Vorkuta, nearly 30 years on from that original Vorkuta prison outbreak, I think it's inevitable that we will learn about the MK Ultra program, but I also think that we will learn about the backstory of Viktor Reznov, as he was imprisoned in Vorkuta for nearly 18 years. And within those 18 years, somehow he was able to learn about MK Ultra and actually perform successful brainwashing on someone without that point ever really being fully explained or explored. And with what we now know from the Black Ops 1 terminal as of 1968, he is now known as John Trent and is acting as a lone wolf, hiding in the shadows. Am I suggesting that he could be hiding near Vorkuta? I highly doubt it. But with this game taking place in 1991, the last time we heard from John Trent was in 1968. That gives us a gap of 23 years, and I find it very difficult for us to go back to Vorkuta prison in the 90s without there being some sort of evidence of Reznov's existence. Could there be official documentation to prove that he did die at Vorkuta? That is absolutely a possibility. But with this new identity that he's had for the past 20 years, it is very plausible that he's been hiding in the shadows. And when we consider how easily he was able to manipulate someone within the CIA, being Alex Mason, and the entire theme of Black Ops 6 being centered around moles within the CIA and not knowing who to trust, imagine if one of the plot twists is that John Trent, Viktor Reznov, was somehow part responsible for so many moles that the CIA now have. We know he is capable of brainwashing with the MK Ultra program, as we saw him do reprogramming Alex Mason. In my mind, if there's any game that is going to explain a near 15-year mystery that Treyarch has set up here, this feels like the game to do it. The only doubts I have about physically seeing Viktor Reznov in this game is for two reasons. The first is that he will almost be 80 years old by this point, marking exactly 30 years since his quote-unquote death. Now, who am I to say that an 80-year-old still isn't very capable, because this is Reznov we're talking about. He's been through a lot, but the connection between Vorkuta and Reznov is absolutely undeniable. But the other half of what connects Reznov is Mason, and it was confirmed when I visited Treyarch that Mason and Hudson's death in Black Ops 2 is 100% canon, and going forward into Black Ops 6, the ripple effects of those two character deaths will be felt. And if we don't have Alex Mason in 1991, then we're missing the one crucial piece of the puzzle that ties Reznov directly to our CIA operatives in Black Ops 6. But with all the evidence laid out in this video, it is undeniable that John Trent, aka Viktor Reznov, still alive after the events of Black Ops 1, and that story remains unknown. But I cannot imagine we go to Vorkuta without there being some reference, mention, or even the acknowledgement that he still exists and that his real identity is John Trent. Now, of course, this is just one big theory. We might never see Viktor Reznov again in the Black Ops series, but it's undeniable that if we're going back to Vorkuta, then that has such obvious ties to Reznov that it's almost too much of a missed opportunity for Treyarch and Raven to not touch on what happened with Viktor Reznov all these years later. We know Treyarch are never ones to shy away from mysteries, but we always get an answer eventually. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section below if you want to see Viktor Reznov return. And if you enjoyed this video, you learned something that you didn't know, please let me know by dropping that thumbs up and subscribing for more Black Ops 6 videos like this on the road to launch. And while you're here, why not check out some more Black Ops 6 with this video on your screen right now?